Alright. Well, I got these plates cut off and mounted to the bottom of the seat that I took from the bracket. And then I cut off this bar, ground it down, and it was all the way back here. And I'm going to move it all the way up here, which will give me better support on this steering support. It also means these brackets will fit better under here, so I can just weld them to those bars, and that'll be it for the seat mount. I got this front member here clamped where I want it, and I brought the frame back upstairs to do some tack welds. Now I've got my seat plates cleaned up, ready to weld. So I can place it on here, get it centered, and then probably tack it from the bottom or something. Okay, cool, I got these tacked on. I'm not going to full weld anything until I know it's all going to stay put. I think I'm going to check the steering next. Okay, so this is how the steering was set up. These rod ends are bent, and they're pretty beat up. A lot of play in that. This one's all chipped over here. I'm going to use these rod ends, which I had from, I don't know, a lawn tractor or something. And these bits are extended a bit more. It gives me more height. It's not going to hit against that or hit against this probably. I can check that. The only problem is the tie rods are too short. I can't quite get them to be long enough. And so what I want to do is get new threaded rods. However, threaded rods are kind of pricey and I don't really want to have to deal with the correct length. So I'm going to make my own. .3/8 24 die. A little bit of cutting fluid. And now I basically sit here and do 100 cranks on that thing. Alright, and now I've got a threaded rod that I can put my rod end on. Okay, so this wheel is clearly done for. It's got no grips left in it and it's rusty, so let me get rid of that and put on a new steering wheel. Now this one is a little bit smaller. That should give me a little bit more room with my legs so I can extend those pedals out. Okay, got two new tie rods. I need to shave off just a little bit from in here, but also this bolt needs to be 3/8, so I got to drill out the holes here. Hey. All right, cool. Well, that's how that looks. I've got mostly functional steering. It's a bit squeaky because of those bushings, but I'm going to redo those. Alright, so steering is mocked up with the new tie rods. Now, this is where my pedals used to be. Kind of insane trying to fit to those pedals. So I think what I want to do is take this whole front axle and move it up by like, I don't know, 2 inches, 3 inches. And then also I can move my pedals back to probably like right here. So I want to take this apart and then cut these off and move it up. Now I've got the axle cut off and moved up 2 inches, and I'm gonna tack weld it on. So now there's no more steering shaft support in the middle. I'm gonna have to remake a new one. And down here, I ground off that support as well. So I'm basically starting fresh with the steering shaft. Okay, so I cleaned up the steering shaft a little bit, and now I've got this, which is a neat self-aligning bearing. It's pretty much just a mounted bearing that can move inside of here. So I'm going to put it inside the steering shaft, and then I can adjust it like this, and I want to see if that alone puts me in a good spot here with the steering shaft, or if I want to change this and then just mount the whole bearing at an angle. I'm leaning towards mounting the whole bearing on an angle because that seems like a better way to do it, but we're just going to play with it for a second. So this piece of angled steel here makes it really easy to set the angle where I want before I weld it. So I'm going to get the angle set right and then give it a tack and then see if I like it. I got my makeshift upper steering mount in place now. Feels good right there, so I'm going to go ahead and weld it. Fusion welding. Alright, so I got the bottom bearing in place, and the steering now kind of works. Feels a lot smoother, that's for sure. So now the next task is figuring out where to put the support. So I can run it straight down like this, I can come vertically up like that, or I can angle it. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. I think either way I need a cross member coming across like this, and I can figure out where to put it later on. I have this cross member made up now out of some angled steel. Upside down like this, so I can have a bar coming out like that. Get some good intersection here. So I'm going to clamp this just somewhere and see how I like it. I have this tubing, which happens to be a special piece of tubing. Why? Because it happens to be the correct inner diameter to fit one of these bearings as a press fit. It's a bit tricky to get in there. I've got one inserted on the other end already, and it happens to work out pretty well where it presses in there and it stays nice and tight and it's not going anywhere. This is now going to be my steering shaft support on the upper end. I'm going to cut it nice and short and then have a bar coming up like this. The only problem is that this is a 3/4 inch bearing and the steering shaft is 5/8, so I have some of those on the way that I'm going to use instead. Okay, so this is now a piece of tubing that I cut down with a bearing inside of it. It's going to go a little bit something like this, and then I got to figure out this bar coming up here. I've got the rear steering mount mocked up. I have this horizontal section here, a vertical 3/4 inch bar going to my bearing tube. It all intersects, it's all centered properly and everything. This has set screws in it, so I tighten those set screws down so the shaft isn't going to move forwards or back. Do some sanity checks here, then give it a quick tack weld. The steering is vastly better with the bearings on it. It feels so smooth. The only thing that might be a little bit of an issue is the fact that there's a little bit of play here. That is not because of this bar, it's actually this bar twisting. So what I might do is take this bar back here and connect it up over to here, and that should help reduce any torsion of this bar. There we go. There we go, that's much more solid now. This joint here doesn't move nearly as much anymore. Okay, so next I kind of want to add some like side handles on here, some sort. So I'll give that a quick mark and then cut a piece out. Okay, those side bars are on. Now I do believe it is time for some pedals. I have a location that I think is going to work well. These pedals are kind of designed to go straight through the frame like this because of the stop here. But I kind of don't like this, plus it's going to be really hard to drill right here where I want it to go. So I have these sleeves that fit 5/16, and I think I'm just gonna tack one on where I want it, and then probably make my own stops for the pedal. I've got this little piece of metal that I cut out here. I'm going to weld on and make it my pedal stop. Okay, cool. Both those pedals are now on with some form of hard stop on them. I think I'm going to wait to do the full extension stops until I know how far the throttle is going to travel and if I even need it for the brake. So I think we're good with the pedals for now. Now, what next? Well, I finally got sick of my old Northern Industrial MiG 135. So I went ahead and bought a prime weld MiG 180.